lawyer who represented Flint victims, badmouthed the city. Here it is.
In 2016, when Bernie ran against Hillary,
right.
Champion Bernie. I had a T-shirt. My kids had T-shirts.
Yeah.
We were all Bernie people.
I like
My
Bernie.
wife was one of the Bernie women that you probably slept with. She liked him. So I like Bernie. In 2016, I'm like in Flint, Michigan, fighting for these kids. I'm spending time there. Nobody wants to be there. I'm there every week.
All right. Put it up full mass. Let me give you the background. Interesting story, obviously. Corey Stern, the New York attorney who is representing thousands of Flint, Michigan children who suffered lead poisoning from drinking contaminated water from the city's Flint River, has come under fire for recently resurfaced comments made about the city during a 2018 podcast. The Detroit Free Press reported Stern can be heard referring to the city, whose majority Black population has for several years dealt with the water crisis. He's referring to the city as a ish hole on an episode of the Race Wars podcast that first aired August 2nd, 2018. Now, we remember Trump also called African nations ish hole nations, all right? So this guy's using very common language here. In the episode, Stern uses the word to describe the city during a conversation with the host about U.S. Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont and how he was a fan of the Democratic former presidential candidate. The comments were recently brought to attention during a recent episode of the big homie Roland Martin Unfiltered digital public affairs program, according to the Detroit Free Press. So after Roland Martin played the soundbite from the 2018 podcast during his show this past week, Kevin Thompson, pastor of the St. Mark Baptist Church of Flint, responded to the comment. Here it is.
They have to do their research because if they did their research, they will understand that we were the leaders in the automobile industry, causing the world to turn. This is a wonderful city that caused the world to turn. And, you know, it's hard to hear something like that in the city that I'm born and raised in, and I have to stand up for the people of the city of Flint.
Well said. Well said. And I want to say this about Roland Martin. Roland Martin and I, we know each other well. We talk offline on occasion. I've been on his program some years back. He's been on my radio show. And I love what his brother does. So understand, just because you don't see us together all the time, it doesn't mean we're not working together, all right? Stern also noted in the podcast episode that he recommended structuring the settlement money in a way that pays the young clients over their lifetime so that they have some steady stream of income. In regards to the potential settlement payouts, one of the podcast hosts then made this joke. Here it is.
Especially if these kids had arrested development once they had the lead poisoning. You got a 13-year-old, and now he looks 26.
Yeah.
But at the same time, now he got a $2 million check.
Right.
It's going to be some dead prostitutes.
That's right.
That's what that means.
And a lot of cocaine.
Yeah, it is. I want to party with one of these ladies.
Lead party.
Beyond unprofessional, beyond insensitive, okay? There is arrested development, mental processes, neurological processes are adversely impacted by lead poisoning. But I want to ask you this question for those of you who do not see what I'm trying to present here. Do you think that attorney makes that same joke about, let's say, young white girls who have been poisoned, severely neurologically damaged because of a government function or dysfunction? Of course not. Your tone changes. The way you present it changes. The way you feel it and connect to it changes. The only way you can talk about those who are suffering in this manner and laugh about it is if you feel as if they are subhuman. That is my opinion. Stern's resurfaced comments came ahead of the 10th anniversary of Flint's water crisis in April. Now, I want to remind you, this is supposed to be your advocate. Okay? The Detroit Free Press reported that as of now, no Flint resident, none, has received money from the $626 million civil settlement that was approved by a federal judge in 2021. A publicist, one of the Flint contractors, said Stern is suing, reportedly shared comments last week about the coverage of Stern's comments on Martin's show. In an email, the Veolia North America spokesperson told Atlanta Black Star that, according to an earlier email shared about Stern's comments, Stern was exposed for making derogatory comments about his clients and the city of Flint, even as their case has made him and his fellow lawyers nearly $200 million, end quote. Per the Detroit Free Press, Stern responded to the comments by stating that the contractor took his remarks out of context and accusing the contractor of helping to resurface the old podcast comments to shift the narrative in ongoing litigation. Stern said in an email statement to the newspaper, for years, the company has used a public relations machine to shift the narrative from their role in the Flint water crisis. In the latest PR maneuver, it is peddling to the media a 4-second snippet from a 5-year-old podcast. In that podcast, which lasted over an hour, I talked at length about the damage caused by childhood lead poisoning and the tragic outcomes likely to occur for kids in Flint. But the company denies that any children were lead poisoned in Flint and even denies that the water was unsafe. Instead, the company continues to attempt to distract from the role in the water crisis by attacking the lawyers representing the victims. Stern's statement read, according to the Detroit Free Press, the Boston-based company said earlier this month that it had reached a $25 million settlement over its role in the Flint water crisis, with payments of $1,500 expected to go to individual minors. The thing is, you're dealing with, in my opinion, bad actors, worse actors, okay? Because you have one company with an agenda does not mean you are not responsible for what you said. So let's make it plain. We already know what they are. They are adversarial, okay? They are on record for being adversarial. But see, you are on record for being an advocate. Do you understand the difference? And because of that, there's an expectation, a standard that we assume you bring with you. And so that's the reason why people are upset. So you should simply apologize for your damn comments and hope that redemption is available for you within this community and by proxy, those that look like us. All right. Rayyvana, thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I guess my response to him saying that it was taken out of context is shut the hell up. Shut the hell up. You said it, own up to it. And you're exactly right. Apologize. Yeah. Because this is a ridiculous way to frame it. And you know, as someone who became a lawyer because I wanted to help people, I've always worked in public interest. You know, I work in it now, and I have clients, you know, working in poverty law who are in desperate, horrible situations. And the idea that I would find some pleasure in laughing about their situations on a podcast makes me nauseous. It's disgusting to be able to do that. You should not be in a position where they should have a better attorney who cares more about them representing their interests, not someone who's going to run to some podcast called Race Wars to denigrate them, denigrate the town that you're supposed to be representing. They deserve somebody who cares about them, who is passionate about them, not someone who just sees them as a job. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, well said. And remember, this was not some recording in private conversation. The man knew he was on a public broadcast.